Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the horror miser, Monty G, trying to review the latest sci-fi action picture that is now airing on Netflix. It is called The Electric State. Yes.
Y'all ready for this?
Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the horror miser, Monty G. Now, The Electric State is a 2025 American science fiction action film that was directed by Anthony and Joe Russo. It was written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. It is based upon the novel of the same name by Simon Stalenhag. Now, the film stars Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, King Han Kuei, Stanley Tucci, Woody Norman, and Giancarlo Esposito. Now, in this film, an orphan teen hits the road with a mysterious robot to find her long lost brother, teaming up with a smuggler and his wisecracking sidekick. Yeah. When it comes to science fiction films, filmmakers love using the robots take over humanity and society premise in some of the films that they've made. Whether it's a rogue AI that takes over the robots, they decide to say, we're going to take over, or the programming in the robots allow them to take over and rule over humans. It's either one of those two examples. Now, we've seen this premise used in plenty of science fiction films such as I, Robot, Westworld, The Matrix, and of course, everyone's favorite, The Terminator. In each of these films, we've seen the premise where the AI decided it was better to take over humanity, or the robots program decided it was better than humans, and if they were better than humans, and they decided to rebel against their human creators. It doesn't matter which one; it has the same premise: robots take over. Which brings us to this latest entry to the subgenre of sci-fi, directed by the Russo brothers Joe and Anthony, and based upon the novel from Swedish artist Simon Stalenhag. It's called The Electric State. Now, taking place during the 1990s in an alternate Earth, a war between humans and robots has left the world in a tangled mess. After the war, we see that the robots were placed in an exclusion zone called the electric state, while all the humans upload their minds into a device called the Neurocaster. Now, previously saying, what the hell is a Neurocaster? Well, the Neurocaster allowed the humans to control drones to do the tasks that the robots did before them before the war started. Now, it's an interesting concept to see how this world building is done. We see that a war that humans created robots to do all the menial tasks. The robots went above their program and felt as though that, hey, look, we're not doing this shit anymore. They had a war against the humans. It looks like they were winning until this Neurocaster was created. All of a sudden, the humans fought back. They won the war. They put all the robots in this exclusionary state called the electric state. Humans began still using the Neurocaster for the drones to do their menial task. And that's kind of an interesting world builder that we have here. Now, a few years later, we're introduced to Michelle Green, an orphan teenage girl that lives with her abusive foster father, Ted. One night, a robot named Cosmo comes to visit Michelle and convinces her that he is her deceased brother, Christopher, who died in a car crash along with his parents. All of a sudden, she decides to go on a journey across the dystopian landscape in hopes to find Christopher's real body, in which Cosmo tells her that it's in danger. And it's kind of what this film is about. Now, I heard about all the bad reviews this film is getting, so I decided to watch the film anyway to see if it was true. And after seeing the film, I can see why they said some of the things they said about this film. I mean, first off, this film cost over $320 million to make, making it one of the most expensive films. So you have to ask yourself why this film did not get a theatrical release. Now, from what I've read, this was actually supposed to be distributed by Universal, but somehow Netflix bought it and decided to play it on streaming services. And I get the feeling that Universal thought that probably after some test screenings, they felt as though this movie is not going to make any type of money whatsoever. And they could be right. So they eventually sold it to Netflix, and Netflix said, hey, we'll just stream it. Now, first of all, this film is no different from the other films that we've seen using this type of premise before in science fiction films. I mean, it's kind of similar to iRobot, except that there is no AI controlling the robots in this particular film. As I stated before, they simply got pissed at the humans and just rebelled against them. They almost won the war, but eventually lost. Now, you will have to admit, if you've seen the film, that the visuals in this are outstanding. As I love the look of the robots in the film, I think they did some nice design on the film, especially when they're integrated with the humans when they're on screen together. It's very great work that we see how the robots look and the humans look together when they're on screen together. Now, this should be no surprise that we've seen how good Joe and Anthony Russo are in the films that they directed, especially from the Marvel films that they made in the MCU. They're great directors and they know how to blend CGI effects along with humans. They've done a great job, and it shows in this film here, too. However, despite how good the visuals are and the design of the robots, and the premise that they use in this film is quite interesting. The main problem with this film, and I can understand why it got the bad reviews, is because it's very bland, very flat, and very predictable. I mean, the first problem that I have is how easy it was for Michelle to believe that Cosmo was her supposedly dead brother. I mean, it should take more than just a few gestures and the Cosmo pointing his picture to convince a now distant and emotional Michelle to believe that this robot has somehow connected to Christopher. I find that highly unlikely to believe. Also, there are a lot of cliche characters in this film, such as the rogue smuggler John Keats and his robot companion Herman. Then we have the bad guys with Marshall Radbury, a former general who was great at destroying robots during the war, and Ethan Skate, the CEO of Center, who made the makers of the Neurocaster, who has an ancient investment regarding Cosmo and the secret regarding him. I won't reveal what that is, but I'm pretty sure, knowing how predictable this film is, you can probably guess what that is. Now, the film follows the typical tropes that we've seen in movies before, like this one, so there's really nothing new or different that we haven't seen before. Now, you would think that the writers of this film would want to try to do something new and different to entertain the people watching this particular film, but they don't do it. It's like they didn't want to take any chances. They just go with the beats for beats that we've seen before in films like this one. Now, I haven't read the source material that this movie is based on, but it seemed like writers Christopher and Steven were simply following the movements that we've seen in other sci fi movies, such as this one. Now, British actress Millie Bobby Brown, known for her role as Eleven in Stranger Things, we all know who she is, tries what she can, but she doesn't give Michelle the emotional connection that this role or character needs for this type of a film. There's just nothing there. Mainly that's because there isn't enough character development that is needed so that we get to see the bond that Michelle and Christopher have. I mean, we get kind of little moments of that in the beginning of the film, but it's just not enough. We needed to see a little bit more bonding between her and Christopher so that way there is an emotional connection. So that way, when Cosmo appears and he does little small gestures, that's enough to at least convince the audience and convince Michelle that Cosmo is somehow connected to Christopher, but we just don't get that. Another problem in the film is that at any time there's really no type of chemistry between Michelle and Keats, as the script does not allow them to do so, despite Chris and Millie's best efforts. I mean, it's just not there. Oh, speaking about Chris Pratt, I kind of feel sorry for him as Keats feels more like an extension of Peter Quill's Star Lord from Guardian of the Galaxy films. However, I did like the chemistry he has with Herman, who was voiced by fellow MCU actor Anthony Mackie. I mean, they do have some great chemistry together, and that's mainly because of the chemistry that Chris and Mackie have. I really did enjoy their little banters back and forth. I thought Anthony Mackie was great voice acting Herman, but that's kind of about all we get when it comes to the interaction between the robots and the humans. Now, while veteran actor Giancarlo Esposito hams it up as Marshall Bradbury in every scene that he is, Stanley Tucci isn't the real threat that he's supposed to be. Ethan Skate is such your typical villain that, he's got evil purposes, but he's not threatening. He doesn't really at any time when he's not going to do anything dangerous that you want a character like him supposed to be. Now, again, I love the robots in this film as they all have their own personalities. From Mr. Peanut, which I thought I thought was funny, Popfly, and Penny Pal, and the voice actors. I believe that's Woody Harrelson. He does Peanut. Brian Cox does Popfly, and Jenny State, the comedian, Jenny State does Penny Pal. I thought all the voice actors did a pretty good job as we all identified their personalities. I thought they all did a good job. And again, the film is just too damn predictable, especially in the third act when I knew what was going to happen to certain characters during that part of the film. And if you saw the film, you know what I'm talking about. It was just too predictable. There was nothing in that happened in the scene that I didn't know what was going to happen. Now, as far as me, while it's not the worst science fiction action film I've seen that has a similar premise like this, yes, I'm talking to you, subservient. I did enjoy some aspects of the film. Like I said, it's not the worst sci-fi action film that I've seen with this particular premise, but what are you going to do? I mean, overall, despite the great visuals, the design, and voice acting of the robots, the film falls flat from the human actors, the lackluster script, and simply there's just no emotional connection at all in this film. So I'm going to give The Electric States 1.5 out of my 5 bloody gold coins. It kind of reminds me of Tim Burton's remake of the Planet of the Apes, where the design was great, the apes looked great, but the human actors sucked. Now, the human actors don't suck as bad as it did in Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, but the same problem with that film is what we have in this film is that the human actors are just not good enough, but the robots look good. They have some great visuals, but just not enough to give this film um, anything other than 1.5 out of my 5 bloody gold coins. It's playing on Netflix right now. If you want to check it out, you might like the film. Some people have enjoyed the film, but as far as I'm concerned, it's okay. It's just yeah, that's about it. So there you have it, sci-fi and horror fans. That is my video and review of the Electric Slate States. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, like, and share. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Have you seen the Electric Slate? What do you thought about it? Do you think it is bad as all the reviews it is getting? Please leave your comments in the comment section below and tell you your thought about the film. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscriber button, ring that notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime when I put up new videos such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G. And always remember that rules. And I see you in my next video. Guys, stay safe out there.